presenter of Asian News on NHK, Morning Focus program from the Bangkok Post. She's a news anchor at ASEAN, Met 107 Radio. She also lectures on one of our journalism programs here at Thammasat, the BJN program, Mass Communications. And she lectures in some other places as well. You may not know this, but she did her master's degree here at Thammasat. In fact, we all did a master's degree together here at Thammasat, which is why we all know each other. So I think, without more ado, I'll hand over to Nick.
Good afternoon, everybody. Very happy to be here with all of you. Thank you very much for showing up. Now, I'm going to go around and interview all of you first, just to break the ice and just to warm up. And I'd like to get to know you first, if that's all right. Of course it's all right. Why don't you start? Tell me something about yourself, please. Yes. Her ex-boyfriend was an Australian. That's why her English is good. Alright, now if you do want to improve your English, when I was studying with Ajahn John and Ajahn Bort, Ajahn Billy did tell us that a good way to improve your language skills was to date somebody who speaks fluent English. It worked for her. Anybody else would like to speak? Just take some volunteers first. Anybody in the back? Just introduce yourself a little bit. Tell me about yourself. Gentleman in orange, digging into his bag. What's your name? Oh, Victor. Hello, Victor. Do you want to be a news reporter? No, you don't. But you're here because you want to meet me. All right. What about you? Okay, and what is it that you want to be when you graduate? All right. So, let me see some hands in the air. How many of you would like to actually become a reporter after you graduate? Hands up? Okay. Some of you. I wouldn't say the majority, but some of you. Oh, okay, all right. Well, I'm here to share with you my experiences. Now, I read the news on television, also radio news as well. But I started not with news, but I started the children's show. Did you by any chance see that? Yes, I was on UBC Kids for a while. Pigtails, colorful clothing, and jumping up and down. Right? And then, see, I'll explain to you first how I got into news reading. So I started off hosting a children's show. I was teaching English on television on what was known back then as UBC. ETV, IBC merged, monopolized, cable television became UBC, which is now currently known as True Visions. Yes, so that's where I started. And it was a very good experience for me to slowly learn the skills of being used to the camera, because of course, when you are a reporter, you are standing in front of a camera, that is, if you are on television. Yes? And it's frightening sometimes to be on camera, and you get very nervous, and then you stumble on your words. So, it was good to start off with children's television, and it wasn't on live, we taped it, so every time I tripped, I fell, I stumbled, we could say, cut, and I could start all over again. But sometimes when it's news reporting, it's live. It's okay to make a mistake, but don't make a mistake and go all quiet and freeze when you're on air. Deal with it. If you've read the word incorrectly, if you've gotten the numbers wrong, repeat it or do something and you have to keep on going. It's very spontaneous. So it was good that I started off doing the television show for children because it was, let's say, refining my skills, preparing myself to grow up and touch on more serious content with news, with bomb explosions in Basra and Iraq, etc. The violence in Greece because of all the austerity measures, etc. You cannot joke about and you cannot make up information when you're talking about something that serious. Alright? So now, after the children's show, I got older, I got a little bit tired of just jumping up and down. It was very, very tiring. And so I took the opportunity that was handed to me to read radio news. Okay? And it went well, I enjoyed it. It was very easy because all you had to do was to pick up a script and read from it. I went to read the news this morning and this is the script that I got. I will show that to you in just a while as soon as I get that working. It was actually working and I switched it off and then now it's just gone kaput. Broken. Done what is going to save the day for me. Okay. So, when you read the news, it's not just plain reading. You have to read it like one. You know exactly what you are talking about. When I first started to read the news, a lot of people questioned me, television news that is, because they would remember me or they had this picture of me as being a little girl addressing children. Bubbly, happy, all smiley. So how can you, a character like that, switch, put on a suit, and read the news? You won't have such a strong impact on the audience. Now this is very, very important when you want to read the news. ถูกไหมคะจากรายการเด็กกระโดดโลดเต้นตลกแล้วจะมาอ่านข่าวความน่าเชื่อถือยังไม่มี So I put on a suit, etc. and it would be like, did she borrow her mother's suit or something? So it took a while to develop that look. And it's a lot of things. It's the hairstyle, it's what you wear, it's the way you speak as well. Now what was really important is that you don't read it in a monotone way. You have to deliver the news as if you are telling a story. But it is not a fairy tale, it's not a happy story. Well, there are some happy stories in the news, okay? But your tone has to change according to what news you are delivering. Alright? One second. I would like to use a Janmot as an example. If you could practice reading the news. Pick one story and then you can read it for us later. I'll give you time to rehearse. Actually, maybe Ajahn John could as well. They're giggling. Yes, it's in broken English. morning focus is in the morning, right? Okay. Have you seen me on NHK? Some of you have. You've seen me on NHK. Is the internet working here? Can you Google for me NHK World? Thank you so much. Okay. Now here's the other thing. When you are reading the news, when you are anchoring the news, the word anchor, what's anchor in Thai? What's an anchor in Thai? It comes with a big ship. Yes, it's a samoa, right? And what does the samoa do? It จะยึดเรืออยู่กับที่ใช่ไหมคะ Anchor ก็จะเป็นเหมือนคนที่ยึดตัวข่าว โอเค จะเป็นผู้ประกาศข่าวหลักในสตูดิโอนั้น โอเค เพราะคำสำหรับ reporter นี่มันกว้าง reporter นี่กว้างจริงๆแล้ว reporter เนี่ยนะคะทำงานวิจัยหาเรื่อง research ทุกอย่างเองทำครบคล้ายกันกับ journalist ก็คือทำทุกสิ่งทุกอย่างเลยหาข้อมูลแต่สำหรับพี่เอเนี่ยสบายหน่อย I don't have to go out and get the news I don't have to research all the news and all the information I don't have to do that very relaxing life for me there are researchers when I'm at NHK they go out get the story get the updated information they write the script and they hand it to me I get the final copy and I just present the news so to say that I'm a reporter would not actually be 100% correct I would consider myself as a news presenter do you understand the difference you present you just read the news that's exactly what I do I could show up see we're live on air for morning focus at 7:40 I can show up at 7:30 with my own makeup and hair done jump into the studio and just go through that live program I'm presenting whatever information was given to me but that would be very irresponsible of me because it would only be right that I read the news first and understand it fully before I present it, correct? Now usually when you start off with being a reporter, you would have to go out and get the information and write your own scripts. Usually, and that is a good way to start. And that is how I started at NHK as well. Alright, so first of all, I started doing the TV news, that was with MCOT News, really late at night on Channel 9. And then that stopped, but then halfway through that job, I got another job, and that was at NHK. Now NHK, do you know what NHK is, right? You know BBC. BBC is the main media and news center for which country? Yes, for the UK. And then you've got CNN for America, right? Now NHK is for Japan. Yes, it is for Japan. Okay, so NHK has the main office for Southeast Asia at the Channel 9 building, at MCOT building. And because I was reading at Channel 9, the people at NHK gave me a call and said, hey, would you be interested in reading the news for NHK? And of course I said yes. Right? So they flew me business class up to Chiang Rai to do a story on human trafficking. Deep. Alright? Serious. Human trafficking. Right? In Chiang Rai. So there I was, up in Chiang Rai, very remote area we went. It was quite hot, and I was standing there underneath the bright sun that they were going to have a central news studio for Southeast Asia that would be based in Bangkok ก็คือกรุงเทพเนี่ยเลือกเป็นศูนย์กลางของโต๊ะข่าวสำหรับอาเซียน You all know ASEAN, right? You should know ASEAN. And the AEC by 2015, very important for all of you. Ties are very much behind in language. According to research, the Vietnamese, the Cambodians, they're all ahead of us in terms of English. Okay? So counting on all of you to educate the next generation, yes? So from that day up in Chiang Rai, I guess I passed because I did get that job. And the nature of what I do at NHK is that the main news desk is in Tokyo, so they cover whatever's in the news. For example, Sunday was the elections where yesterday? Very good. Who won the top position? Right. And now it goes on to say that it was rigged, that it was corrupt, it wasn't fair, etc. So Tokyo will talk about that, and then they will throw it to the Bangkok Bureau. And then I will discuss on San Suu Kyi, back on the campaign trail after falling ill for one day, dizziness, etc. And whatever other news from this region. It's for about 5 to 6 minutes, but I'm very happy. It's a good job, it's fun, and it's easy. So, and apart from that, I also did, now with NHK I have to say the style of reading the news is very different. What you saw, Morning Focus, is different from NHK. NHK with the Japanese, you cannot ad-lib. You cannot say whatever it is you want to say. You have to stick to exactly what is written in the script. Because the people in Tokyo, when they do the switching, their English isn't perfect. So if you go off the script, then they wouldn't know when to switch, and then you'll probably end up on air looking like, let's go and take a look at the report, and then it won't go or something. So you have to stick exactly to what the script says. Have you all been to a studio before? You know in the Thai news, right? The reporter, they're looking right at you, and it seems like they've memorized everything. ใช่ไหมผู้ประกาศข่าวอะเวลาเห็นเนี่ยเขามองคุณเลยนะเขามองในกล้องใช่ไหมกล้องนี่ก็คือพวกคุณเนี่ยนะที่ดูอยู่ที่บ้านแล้วเขาก็พูดข้อมูลไปเยอะมากเลยอะแล้วคุณงงไหมว่าเขาจำได้ยังไง Do you have questions like how do they memorize all that information? Do you question that? Well, what happens is that they have a prompter. มี prompter. So there's a monitor. Yeah, there's a TV screen there, and there's the camera. Okay? And what comes up on the monitor, on the TV screen, are the words, and you just read from that. It's that simple. Okay, that's how they do it. They don't actually memorize it. Now, NHK is different. With the prompter, for Morning Focus, I have to be very, very, very careful because the person who is manning the prompter doesn't understand English. Okay? So what happens if you're reading and the words are not going up? It's not being scrolled up. And then you just look there and then you're like, okay, what's next? You cannot do that. That cannot happen when you're live on air. Okay? So that's why it's always a good thing to familiarize yourself with the script. And that's why you should always have a copy of the script with you. Adam, what can you stand here, please? Now, it's fascinating watching reporters go on air is an act a lot of the times on NHK. Now, and therefore, not only are you a reporter, a presenter, but you have to be an actress. Are you an actress? An actor. Okay, so there's one camera, you're my camera, so I'm looking at you, okay, you're my camera. And then there's another camera here, he is going to do the zooming in. So if he's speaking, he's going to zoom in on a Dan Watt. So a Dan Watt is going to be reading from the iPad here. And now, you know with iPads, it's so cool that they have this teleprompter apps, right? And the words move. It's really cool, isn't it? But my goodness, you tap on it and the words disappear. And that is exactly what happened when Mr. Sriwijaya Saputra Ali was going through his first question. And he was like, and he had nothing. He did not have a plan B. Thank goodness I have my script here. And I believe things like that happen. You don't just look out for yourself, but you look out also for your co-anchor. So from that moment onwards, he regained consciousness and he went back to reading the scripts. The teleprompter went dead. This was live on air. Okay? Thank you very much, Mr. Sriwijaya Saputra Ali. Oh, this is yours. This is yours. Okay, so, you know, the skills of being a reporter, apart from reading, there's just so many other things. Like my recent trip to Hanoi, we had to, here we go. Let me see if I can find you a clip of me reporting from Hanoi.
Cappuccinos that Thai farmers now produce some of the world's most expensive coffee using beans processed in a very unusual way. Our reporter Satomi Asa went to savor the flavor. This piper in Central.
Okay, so that's what I do at NHK. I'm in the studio and I just read the script and then sometimes there's a special report, etc. But with NHK, I don't need to rely on somebody to scroll the prompter for me. The technology is just amazing at NHK, but then they're Japanese, they're very advanced with their IT, right? So here is my news desk, and up there, attached to the ceiling, is a camera. The camera is pointed down. So anything that I place on the table, okay, will show up on the monitor in front of me. So therefore, my script is there, I can move it. I'm done with this page, I slide it away, and then the next script comes up, the next page comes up. It's fascinating. So you don't have to worry about somebody manning the prompter, okay? It's you manning it, and you control your own speed, where you are, etc. So it's very cool like that. Yes? But when I am outside, there's so many other factors that come into play and that will give you a headache or cause you to stress. I do use the teleprompter and I'm very particular on who holds the iPad teleprompter for me. It's got to be somebody I trust. If it's somebody that I don't trust, somebody who doesn't work well with the iPad, then I would really panic. Because it is teamwork. If the person is going to tap it twice and the words disappear, I'm dead. Right? Actually, there is plan B, and when you're live on air, you should always have that plan B, meaning you have that paper script with you, and you rehearse not only with the iPad teleprompter, but you also rehearse with the script in your hand to sync it with the words that come up on the iPad, and so that you know exactly in your head where you are on that piece of paper. Okay? So that's news reading with NHK. But then there's news reading with Morning Focus. I have a co-anchor. We ad-lib a lot. Ad-lib ก็คือพู know what's been happening in the news. Because if your co-anchor is going to play Mr. Smart, then he might say something and ask you a question, and you better be able to respond in a clever way, or at least not look so ignorant on air. So this is one thing that you really need to do if you are interested in becoming a reporter, is to constantly follow up on what's been happening in the news. Okay? So for those of you who knew that there are actually elections going on, or that there was an election yesterday in Russia, good for you. What's happening at Dongmen today? What's happening in Dongmen today? This is also something you should know. Not too far away at all. What's happening? Yes, they're officially reopening Dongmen. So Nok Air and all the other low-cost carriers can go back and operate from there. And Suvarnabhumi will be freer now. Not too hectic there. I don't know if I can find you. Sorry, bear with me here.
And it goes, "Do not behave like a shepherd's boy." Now, this is the headline that you will see in Thairat's editorial, today's paper. The editorial cited the latest unverified claim made by the Pheu Thai spokesman Prong Hong Noparit that four groups of people, which include businessmen, academics, military officers, and media persons, were plotting to overthrow the Pheu Thai-led government by using the proposed amendments of the Les Majestés law as an excuse. The editorial said that this alleged coup plot against the government is nothing new, as Kun Prong Hong made similar claims some time ago when he said that coup plotters had a non-step plan to oust the government and that the group would be staged, or that the coup, rather, would be staged on December the 5th last year.
Now, despite the claims, the editorial said that the their defense minister, General Thammasat,
Stumbling a little bit, probably the prompter's moving up a little bit.
The current defense minister, Air Chief Marshal,
See, this is why they're looking right in the monitor, because the words show up there.
This was total nonsense. The editorial also noted that it was strange that there would be no arrests made by police despite the claims. As far as the Democrats are concerned, the editorial said they treated the coup plot claims as a rumor, intentionally.
Okay, there you go. Now, I don't know if you've noticed, but it's not just plain reading, word for word, but it's like you're telling a story. You pause, you stop a little bit, your voice goes up and down. Right now, this is something that you will need to practice. And if you seriously want to get into reporting the news, you will have to, or even, television commercials or radio spots. Do you want to do the voiceover for any of that? You will need to practice by reading things out loud. Yeah? And with this, not only do you worry about the prompter, but you also have to throw things back and forth between your co-anchor. Now, Kun Pichai, he's mature, he's very experienced in what he does. He doesn't try to throw you these difficult questions on air, but you do end up sometimes working with co-anchors who get too smart for their own good. Okay? Who make these comments and you get a little bit angry, if you will, irked by the comments, etc. And all those emotions are not allowed to show to the audience. Okay? So be careful with things like that. There is a Kun Waranai, he teaches at Thammasat. Thammasat too. He's a handful, he is, but I do enjoy reading with him a lot. So if you do have a co-anchor, it's always good to chit-chat beforehand and make sure you know what he's going to throw you if you are not too confident being on air and having your co-anchor surprise you. Okay? Now, reading, you might think it is easy, but it's not for everybody, and like I said, it takes a lot of practice. So Ajahn John, can you kindly read whatever's in the news for us? Up front is good too, and allow me a bit of a break here.
So Ajahn John, he's a news anchor now for Salt TV.
And now over to China, where China's national legislators gathered on Sunday to elect a presidium and to set the agenda for the legislature's annual session, which is scheduled to open on Monday. A 170-member presidium was elected to take charge of the procedures of the 5th session of the 11th National People's Congress, or NPC, which is scheduled to conclude on March 14th. Wang Xiaoguo, chairman of the Standing Committee of the National People's Congress, was elected Secretary General of the session. According to the agenda adopted in the preparatory meeting, the NPC deputies will deliberate the government's work report and examine and adopt the draft amendment to the Criminal Procedure Law, a draft decision on lawmaker election for the 12th NPC, and draft methods for electing new NPC deputies from Hong Kong and Macau.
He is a natural. Ajahn John, could you explain to or share with the students here what you did there? I mean, it's not just regular reading, is it? So could you just share with them?
Yes, I think the main thing is to try to read ahead of the speaking so that you can see what's coming up. Because especially with something that's written like this, I think it's written by a print journalist probably. Because the sentences are very long. Normally when you speak, speaking is different to written journalism. And this looks like it's written by a print guy. So you get these very, very long sentences. So the trick is to try to look far enough ahead to see whether that little bit ends and whether the next bit gets on. And especially when it's long lists of things. So it's a case of kind of trying to read out the word that you're on, trying to look at the words that are coming up ahead. So.
Thank you very much. That is a skill that a native speaker will be very capable of doing, is to read here. When you're speaking, the word is here, right? But your eye is already like 2, 3, 4 words ahead. That's going to be quite difficult for all of them here. คืออย่างนี้เวลาอ่านเนี่ยนะคะ you should understand what the content is. And therefore, if you are just starting out, you should most definitely read through your scripts. I used to read for Radio Thailand. I quit just last month. And I remember when I first started there, Radio Thailand News, I had to read the script over and over and over again at least 3 times. Okay? So that you are familiar with what you are reading. And it's not just being able to pronounce the words, but it is lacing all those words together so that the sentence comes out as if you understand exactly what you are saying and you are giving it the right tone, right? Now, that one wasn't too serious a story, but if you are reading perhaps the latest unrest or the bomb explosion down south, you might want to read it with a bit more oomph, more weight. So each story has a a different characteristic or different personality attached to it. Okay? You won't realize how difficult it is until you try it for yourself. Can you please look for something to read? And I'm going to ask you to be my guinea pig and you are going to read it out loud. เมื่อคุณมีโอกาสแล้วคุณจะเข้าใจจริงๆว่าคุณจะต้อง approach มันอย่างไร This is where you're fiddling and you're looking for something to read, my dear. หาเอกสารหา